So it's great to be up at the top of the Cannes Festival here, and pleasure to be with Jesper Gustafsson. Jesper is the Director for Global Travel Retail for Hugo Boss. And Jesper, you're really embarking on some exciting strategy and some great changes in terms of the way you're activating in travel retail. Just talk us through that a little bit.
It's quite easy put. When I took over travel retail 2012, my CEO told me to align with the domestic market and make us consistent. This means that the consumer who enters the travel retail shop should have the same experience as downtown. With those words, I took over. And what we have been doing now for the last 3 years is to, first of all, fix the distribution. So we have closed down locations where we no longer can be for several reasons. We have built around 50 to 60 projects a year in renovations and relocations. And by the end of next year, our 200 locations will be pretty much renovated into our new shop concept, which is then the same as we are rolling out downtown. So that's the first step. The second step is then what happens with the consumer when it comes into the point of sales. And here we're working a lot with staff training and with more dedicated staff in our stores who can give the consumer a good experience when he enters. In the end of the day, it's all about increasing the value of the bag for the consumer without him having to pay more money for it. Mm-hmm. Hopefully will, but
yeah, hopefully spend per head will increase, but yeah. with the great execution, absolutely. And which parts of the world are you most focused on at the moment in terms of airport location?
In Europe, where we have the heaviest distribution, we're actually going down in point of sales. The biggest growth is, I guess, as for everybody else, in the Asia-Pacific region, but also in NCSA, with all the redevelopments of the airports there and the terminals becoming more retail-friendly, this is also a big growth market for us moving forward.
And across your different product categories within Hugo Boss, where are you seeing most growth, and what's the most dynamic sector at the moment?
Well, with the rise of the Asians, it's clearly in the shoes and accessories, as well as sportswear. So what used to be mainly a formal wear driven business has now become 30% formal wear, 30% sportswear, and 30% shoes and accessories, which is a good thing because it means that we are standing stable on 3 legs instead on 1. And here I think we are quite strong as a menswear brand, and I think we're quite alone in the industry to have these 3 legs to stand on.
Very good. And you know, there are a lot of conversation about the Trinity, and you and I have discussed a lot about this in the past. Tell me a little bit about the challenges you face and how you think the Trinity is working for Hugo Boss.
When it comes to Trinity, it's kind of a buzzword. Everybody uses it, and in the end, the definition can be very, very different. I would say like this: if we are ever going to get Trinity to work in a good way for fashion and accessories, it needs to be a clear commitment from the airport authorities to steer it from A to Z. And if this does not happen, then Trinity is never going to work, and then the best solution would be if the brands go in and work directly with the consumer, because then you have full control of how the brand is handled, you have full control over the experience that you give to the customer, and that's the easiest way to safeguard a good experience.
Yeah, and it's absolutely, presumably, essential for your brand that you have as much control as possible in terms of that consumer experience, and that becomes the issue, I guess, with parts of the Trinity.
I mean, for you and also for me, sometimes, if I go into a directly operated store downtown, or if I'm in a franchise store in the airport, I wouldn't know. There's still boss on the wall, there's still boss on the product, and the consumer shouldn't have to care. It's as easy as that.
And in this sort of increasing digital world and across the consumer journey, are you using digital much, and do you have many plans for digital?
We are rolling out a pilot project at the moment where we do with our own online sales. We will have shop and collect at the airport. We're rolling this out now in the UK as the first market. So wherever we have online sales, this is something that will happen moving forward. Here we are dependent on how the company is working as a whole, but with the same statement as I said before, that we need to have consistency with downtown. Whatever we do there, we will of course apply it to the airport as well. But I think the first step is really for all the fashion brands and more towards the luxury fashion is to work with what we have within the airport. That's step one, and this is by far not perfect today, I would say.
And presumably for your loyal consumers, it's quite a simple process for them in terms of sizing and styles to be able to do that click and collect, and that must be a real growth opportunity for you going forwards.
We have a very loyal customer base, and for, let's say, a businessman who would travel, who knows his size in his normal model of a suit. I'm sure you know what model you are wearing and what size you normally have in that brand, whatever it is. I hope it's Boss.
It usually is Boss, but carry on, carry on.
For such a person, he can then choose between all the ranges that we have, not only within the airport premises, and then he can click and choose from all this variety and pick it up at the airport shop.
Fantastic. And as you go around, you're obviously traveling a lot yourself.
I do.
Who do you admire out there in terms of brand experience amongst your competitors or other categories that are doing a good job in terms of consumer engagement?
Here I would like to mention a couple of airport authorities who do it really good. I think airports who are in the forefront of talking to both the traditional operators and the brands are airports such as Vienna, Heathrow, Copenhagen, where we are all today operating our own retail stores. So from experience, these are the type of relations that I would like to mention, and that's, I think, is the way to move forward with an open dialogue where we normally historically talked only to the operators, and we now talk with the airport authorities directly, with or without the operators, but in an honest dialogue, and this I think is important.
Very good. And final question, Jesper, as you look to the next 12 months, what are some of the biggest challenges you're facing as a business, and where do you see the opportunity?
Staffing. As I said, we are done with the distribution quite soon, and we are building around 65 projects for next year. When the consumer comes into these great-looking stores, he needs to have good service. And since competition is ramping up everywhere in travel retail, that will be the main competitive advantage for, I think, any fashion brand that sells a luxury product.
Very, very clear. And as always, the most stylish man in Cannes. It's great to see you. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you shortly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.